intro back up because I didn't realize I wasn't recording this for Spotify. That's why you guys should probably head over to Twitch if you want the full unedited version of whatever's behind the curtain podcast. So, if you can tell, I'm whatever. And I'm back after taking a big break. And I am back at it with a very unsettling topic, which is people who vanish after crashing their cars. And as I was saying before, these are not just stories about car accidents, it's about the fact that after these car accidents happen, we can't find the drivers. We don't know where these people went. And it's honestly a haunting topic when you think, because this is something that in the true crime community, or I think in the very least unsolved mysteries, has been happening for a long time. In the 4 cases I have, the earliest one is in 2004. So and it's weird that it's technically, while it has happened for a long time, we're going 2025 when this is taking place, where I'm recording this episode. So it's been going on for 21 years of all these cases happening, all these scenarios. And so it's been happening for a while, but at the same time, it is relatively modern when you think about it. Like I said, the first case I'm going to cover here in a moment happened in 2004, and that's probably the oldest one that I have so far. When I was doing research, I don't know if there's older ones, so drop a comment in Spotify, on YouTube, wherever, if you think you've heard of this happening way earlier than 2000. Like I said, we're gonna get into this. So our first case is Maura Murray. I hope I said her name right. So this is a case that I think is relatively well known within the Unsolved Mysteries True Crime community, because this is a case that relatively seemed kind of bizarre, because I think when it first came out, when it first happened, we just didn't have all the facts and all the topics. And as I'm going through these cases, of course I'm not probably covering it as thoroughly as I made a whole episode about them. So drop a comment, like, subscribe if you want me to talk more about these cases individually in a future episode. Getting on Maura Murray. So she was, at the time that she disappeared, she was 21 years old. She was a nursing student in Massachusetts. I believe she went to University of Massachusetts. I know I'm saying Massachusetts wrong and people are gonna hate on me, but I can't say words right apparently. So the thing about her is that things started going awry, if you will, before she even disappeared. Before she disappeared, around, give it 3 months, I think, what they said. When she disappeared, she was having issues with the law. She apparently had stolen a credit card and used it to buy food, and her sister said later on that, the reason why she stole the credit card is because she was having struggles. I don't know exactly what type of struggle she meant, if she meant mental issues, probably along that lines, because she also did mention that she had an eating disorder, which I know is very hard, like a very hard thing to deal with. Also, before he disappeared, she had crashed her father's car, I believe possibly the day before, and it was late at night. It was after she had gone to a party. She was coming home from a school party, I believe, and she crashed her dad's car. And the cops at the time, they didn't do the blood alcohol test, or is it breathalyzer test? I believe it's breathalyzer test. They didn't do that on her, so they weren't able to document if she was under the influence when that happened. But she later on said that she was going to pay her dad back for the car. It was around $10,000, and it was said that apparently when she did later on go missing, she was planning on paying that insurance money back, because obviously she felt bad about crashing her dad's car. So The day that she disappeared was February 9th, 2004, and that day was already growing weird for her in a way because I think maybe she had gotten a call from her sister and she was very upset about it. She was at work and her coworker asked her about it. She said it was nothing. The query, she was upset. And later on, she emailed her professor saying there was a family emergency, that she actually was dealing with a loss in the family, and that she wouldn't be attending class. And it was shortly after that that she later on packed up her things and she got into her car and she drove. She drove north, I believe, from the directions that I looked up on the map. I didn't put up the images because I put up an image of her car, but I couldn't find an exact image of the. I'm sorry, I just heard like a bear knock or something. That's bejesus at me because I am currently recording this at night. I am streaming at night. Okay. Back to what I was saying. She packed up her clothes. She packed up makeup. She packed up her school books. She packed up clothes and medications she had. She withdrew at least $280 from her bank account. And she then bought over $40 worth of wine and vodka. I believe that's what this waiter stated. So she went driving, and I'm not sure when she started driving, but eventually at around 7:25 p.m., she ends up crashing. She her car into a snow bank, and I guess she wasn't able to get the car out, and then he was just, side of the road. And I believe at the time, one safe Westman reports this crash. She calls 911. The time that she called was around 7:27. So literally 2 minutes after she crashes, he calls and says, "Hey, there's this girl," or "Hey, there's this car that crashed by my house." So she's as she should. And then later on, a few moments later, a bus driver sees her, and the bus driver pulls over. He asks her, "Hey, are you okay?" And she tells him, "Oh no, I actually just called I called AAA. I don't know. I believe AA is like type of insurance or like road provider. So if you call them, they'll come and like tow your car or something." But according to maybe her account or AAA, they say that she actually never called them. So she kind of to him by saying, "I just called AAA, I'm fine." Which I'm not sure if she was just nervous and she just didn't want to talk to this dude, because it's at around like 7:10. So yeah, he told him, "It's fine, I called for help already, I'm fine. Bus driver's like, okay, drives home. He lives nearby. He gets home and he then also called authorities, I believe. He calls around at 7:42 when he gets home, and I think that's around the time that he said that he saw her. And then at 7:46, the police get there and she is gone. She's not there. They look in her car. The car was locked, guys, and there was wine on the door, on the roof of the car. I'm not sure how you get in the roof of the car, but maybe when she drove into the embankment. So here's the thing. It took around 10 minutes between, I guess, when the last guy saw her, the driver, when he saw her, and then when the cops got there. So they said they found all her belongings in the car. They found her makeup, her medicine, her books. They found the wine. And here's a thing that people back in the day were really kind of like, her of her car had a rag stuff in it, and I think people were talking about that it was a red rag or something. I remember this, and I remember kind of really about it, but eventually it was said by her father that, "Oh, I told her to put the rag in her tailpipe because at the time her exhaust was really bad. So he didn't want her to get pulled over, so he told her just stuff it in your pipe, get it fixed or whatever. Like he didn't want her to get pulled over when she was already having so much trouble with the law, basically. And when they looked around, it was snowing, by the way. This is in Massachusetts. It's somewhere in the New England area, but they're America, so it was cold. It was in winter. It was snowing. They looked around. They couldn't find any footprints, and they couldn't find any, trails in a way that she could have gone into the woods if she had gone, or if she decided I'm going to walk to one of these houses nearby or to back into town. They eventually, I think the theory was he either crashed the car to try to disappear, which I don't really buy, because if she wanted to disappear, why would she take her school books with her? That's one thing. Why would she take that? Or when she disappeared, why would she leave all the stuff that she brought with her in her car? I think the theory is that she got picked up by someone. And I feel like this is a much more believable theory, especially because of the fact that they couldn't find like any footprints. Not even her footprints, like I'm talking about, they couldn't find anyone's footprints. It's not like somebody from house nearby saw her crash and decided I'm gonna go over there or anything like that. No, they couldn't find nothing, which honestly I didn't know about the snow and about the lack of footprints when I first heard about her case, so that was really unsettling to hear about when I was researching this. The fact that there was snow and you could not see any trails other than what's already on the road, like car trails basically. Okay guys, so her family are still looking for her to stay. I put on the screen, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're looking on Spotify, they have a website. It's the Maura Murray missing official website. I think they have a podcast where it's her father, her sisters, and her brothers are talking about her case. They're to find out where she went, what happened to her. They know something, because had nothing. It's been, like I said earlier, over 21 years since she disappeared, and obviously her case is big. There's a lot of other podcasts that have made episodes about her, YouTube videos made about her, because I remember when this case was like real popular. Probably, and like I think that's when I first heard about it, and it was just very unsettling to hear about. And I wish best for her family. I hope they find something, because I do know that they're very active in the community and you hear that for them. And I think they even have a TikTok. I remember seeing like a couple of years ago that they did a TikTok with the hanging tree song, like the Hunger Games song, where every year that she goes missing, they go and they walk where she crashed her car and disappeared. Yeah. Okay, guys. So next case that happened in the same year is Brianna Maitland. Hope I'm saying her name right. I'm so bad at names. So Brianna Maitland. So this happened actually 1 month after Maura disappeared. Oh my god, why did I not do the mental map? So Maura disappeared in February. So that means Brianna disappeared in. So here's the thing with Brianna. So she was a high school dropout, but I don't think that should be real important, because while she was a dropout, she was, still herself. And in fact, the day she disappeared, she was actually celebrating. She had gotten her GED that day, and while she didn't live at her parents' house anymore, she was couch surfing with her friends. She was 17 years old, and she worked at an inn. I think it's called the Vermont Inn. This happened in Vermont, by the way. And so she went out celebrating. I think she had dinner with her mom, and then eventually she told her mom, well, I had to go to work. She went to work. She did her whole shift. She left at around 11:20 p.m. So this is real late at night. I'm filming this at 11:30. So it's honestly like around this she went missing, and it is pitch black outside. So she left, and between 11:30 and 12:30, people started seeing her car. And so this is like 10 minutes left. They started seeing her car. Her car had crashed already. So basically, it's like saying she worked and her car crashed right away. And the building that she had apparently crashed into, which is really weird. I have a picture of it in the next slide because I thought that the way it looked weird. The building that her car crashed into was a house. I believe it was like abandoned. It was called the Dutch House, and it was only a mile away from where she worked. So like probably a minute, or I guess the most 5-minute drive away from where she worked. I'm not sure. I'm just guesstimating. I know that they say it's like a minute from the Vermont Inn, and it was backed into the house. It was like, how do you do that? Is what I'm thinking. How do you like just you're gonna tell me I'm gonna just back into this house? Because once you see the pictures, you'll understand what I mean. So going back to that, people between 11 and 11:30. No, I meant between 11:30 and 12:30 a.m. started seeing her car, and the car had the headlights on, but no one could see anyone around. Basically, they saw the car, didn't see anyone around it, and then around between midnight and 11:30 a.m., another person saw the car. So if you're overlapping it, like between that someone saw one car, another person saw the car, and they said this time they saw the turn signal was on, but they again couldn't see if anyone was near the car. And then later on in the night, or by this time it's really early morning, at around 4 a.m., one of her ex-boyfriends or a ex-boyfriend saw her car, and they recognized that it was Brianna's car, but he also couldn't see anyone around. Later on in the day, the state went, and because they've been getting reports of the car, I'm hoping, and they decided to check it out. So they check out the car, they see that it was real weird end to the house. It was apparently partially inside, and then here's the weird part about it. They found belongings in the car. She had, her in the car. They found she had clothes in the car. She had makeup. She had her eye contacts in there. Her driver's license. She had, here's the thing. Her paychecks. She had 2 paychecks there. It was around $150. So, why just leave your money there? Especially that I didn't say that it was like on the desk. They didn't really look too into it because I believe they did know who she was based on the driver's license and the checks. They kind of didn't view it as a serious thing because I think a lot of people assumed that it was a prank or that it was just a drunk driving incident, and it was kind of like one basic. I just heard something. Oh my god, I am going crazy. Okay, so eventually, after looking over, they decided that this was not it got run off the road, or that it was the road in an uncontrolled manner. So basically saying someone deliberately backed the car into this house. So I'm gonna go to the next slide, and you're gonna see how weird this car looks backed into the house. Like, so this is her car, and it just backed into the house. It's weird. And this right here is that the house had boarded up, like it had wax links, like windows. They're like those very fiber. I'm not the word right. Rexy? No, I'm not saying anything right, but they, looked and this just looks weird to me. I don't believe that like someone could crash into a house like this. It's very odd. I think the main thing that people have about this is that someone they knew lured her out there and staged the crash to cover up what basically happened to her because this just looks really weird to me. I don't know. But I guess a question I would have for you guys listening would be if you saw a car like this that was just, randomly crashed into a house, would you like call it in, or would you just, ignore something? I know that I would question it, but being me, I like to mind my business a lot. I probably wouldn't say anything, but if it was on the news and it was, tied person, I probably would say something because this is odd. It looks weird. Okay, guys, I'm gonna move on to our next. Okay, so our case is Brandon Swanson. So Brandon was 19 at the time that he disappeared. This case happened in 2008, May 14th. So the night that Brandon had disappeared, he was actually celebrating the end of the spring semester. He was going to a couple of parties. I believe this place around Newton, Minnesota. Saying names wrong left and right today. It is so awful. But he was actually in another town. He was partying, going to the end of the parties, maybe some graduation parties, because it's the end of the spring semester. Some people are to be graduating, so he attended a few of these parties. One thing to note is that he did at least have, a couple of his friends saw him drinking, but they said later on that, well, yeah, he drunk. I'm just saying words wrong today. So they were saying basically, yeah, we saw him, but he wasn't, drinking enough drunk, or he wasn't drinking enough to seem intoxicated. But either way, eventually at the end of the night, he decided he wanted to go home. So he decided this time that he was going to take the back roads home. And where he was heading, I believe it was either heading to the town I was saying, Teuton or Marshall, Minnesota, one of those two towns. The reason I'm getting these towns mixed up is because there's just a lot of different towns in this story. I'm sorry. And it's also because later on he kind of gets mixed. I'll get to that. So he's driving the back roads and eventually he accidentally drives into a ditch. And this is where I'm saying he was actually near Teuton, because he had assumed he was actually more closer to a town called Lynn, and he wasn't. So this is around 1:54 in the morning, like almost 2 in the morning, when he decides to call his parents. He calls his parents and he tells them where he thinks he is, and he tells them, hey, I'm not getting my car out. It's stuck. Can you please come and get me? And his parents decide, okay, we're gonna go and get you. I believe it was both his mom and his dad. They got in their car. They went driving to around where he had told them that he was. And they get there and they look around. They're using their headlights too, by the way. Like he has his hand and they're saying, where are you? We can't find you. Can you see our headlights? And he's saying, no, I can't see you guys. Where are you guys? And it's basically they cannot see each other. Brandon cannot see his Brandon. And eventually he decides that he's just going to walk down, because he tells them over the phone, I'm just gonna walk it. I'm going to go to this bar that's in town. I can see the lights. I'm gonna head over there. And his parents are like, oh, okay. But you know what, stay on the phone with us while you do that. And he's like, okay. And he's walking on the phone with his dad, and as he's walking, he's saying what he sees and what he hears, and that he's saying that he's passing by fences and that he can hear running water. And that's kind of important later on. So he's walking, and then all of a sudden, he shouts, he yells, he says, "Oh shit!" And then the call went silent. And here's the thing: when a lot of people hear this, they assume the call hung up, that he hung up, or something happened to the phone. You know, but what is he yells, he says, "Oh shit!" and his parents do not hear him anymore. The phone is still on, they're still connected, they are shouting his name, they're saying, you know, basically what happened, what, you know, like they're trying what happened, and they're not getting any response. And eventually, I think that's when his parents decide to hang up and they head back home. They wait until around 6 a.m. The way when he went missing, he went, or I meant when the line was dead, it was around 2:30. So between him calling his parents and then him just not responding anymore, it was around 40 minutes. So parents went home, or they went to where he said he would meet them up. I can't remember which one it was, but they waited until 6 in the morning, and that's when they decide, okay, we need to police, we need to tell someone that he is missing. We don't know where he went. We don't know where he is. We're not getting any calls from him. So here's the thing that's kind of, I don't know, I guess, is that when his parents do eventually call the police or report him missing, the police kind of brush it off. Like I said, he was celebrating the end of the spring semester. A lot of college kids are celebrating, they're partying, you know. So they assume he somewhere else, or he went to another party, or he was with his friends, or something like that. And here's the part that kind of makes me on his parents' part, is that his mother says that one of the police that she was talking to at the time told her that Brandon had a right to be missing. Basically, it was okay that he's missing because he's probably out partying or something, which is to think about. Like, you're saying because the end of the semester that other people are partying, if he goes missing, it's okay. I don't know. That was very weird to me. But eventually, the police do head up to try to go and look for where he last was, and eventually they find his car in a ditch near Tucson, Minnesota. Like I said before, he wasn't near Lynn, the town that he thought he was. He was actually 25 miles away from where he thought he was. And they looked at the car, and yeah, the car was in a ditch. It was actually kind of hitched onto, so it was kind of basically where it was up, and the wheels were not touching the ground, so that's why he couldn't get the car out of the ditch, and that's how he got stuck. So they looked around, they couldn't find him. But one weird thing is that they, which probably contribute to some other theories later, is that they saw his glasses were in the car. And the reason why this is strange is because Brandon is considered legally blind without his glasses. And they try to decide, okay, so let's see, could he have seen? Because here's the thing, when he was saying on the phone earlier, and when he was talking to his parents, he's like, okay, I can see the town from here. He was talking about the fact that he could see the lights. He could see the lights of the town, which makes me a little confused. Like, what does he mean by he can see lights? But eventually they say that they think what he could have been seeing was a light from a grain elevator that was apparently nearby. And when they later on use tracking hounds to try to smell his scent, the dogs led the authorities to the Yellow Medicine River, and and eventually they kind of went around to the other side of it, but then eventually stopped. So I'm not sure if this means he fell into the river, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of leaning towards that because I don't know what else could have happened. But one of the things, if you remember, that he said he heard when he was walking is he heard rushing waters. So that could have been what he heard, and he just didn't know that he was by the river because he assumed he was actually more far away, that he assumed he was by Lynn. So one theory believes is that, like I said, they believe he fell into the water, and the water, I think, was actually kind of high at the he disappeared. I think they said the night he disappeared, the water was like around 10 feet. It's really deep. And I don't know. I think one thing I think about is what if the lights he was seeing is like the moon reflecting on the water, and he just couldn't tell the difference if he's not glasses between the light moon bouncing off the water, or and just thought it's the town or something. I don't know. Another theory is that people kind of assume that because somebody else found him, which I don't know. They never mentioned they found like any other set of prints or anything like that. If they found anything else there, it's just a lack of evidence, I guess, that makes me not believe this theory as much as other. So I guess one little thing I gotta say about this case would be, if someone vanished in the middle of you talking to them, what would you do? Because I think if I was talking to someone, whether it be my brother or my sister, my mom, someone, and they meet and then they just, stop talking, phone is going on. I think this kind of has happened to my sister before. Not that she vanished, but we were talking and her phone's kind of buggy and kind of goes mute. And I'm like, what the heck happened? I think what I do, because I've been like to my sister, is I just hang up and I call her again. And usually that fixes it. And I'm like, what the heck? And she's like, I don't know. Yeah, it was. Okay, guys, so I forgot something. So I actually have. Yeah, so this town, Canby town. Okay, so Canby here. That's where he was partying, and this is Lind, where he disappeared. And this is the back road that he took. And I believe somewhere in the middle is Teuton, where he disappeared. So you can see that is a distance, definitely where he thought he was. Moving on to the next case here. Okay, guys, so here we have our next case. It is Rice Lipsia. I just keep think I'm gonna change how I say it, but I'm not. Oh my god. And I promise you, I practiced saying these names before each episode, and I just bad at it. Okay, guys, so Rice was 19 years old. He was in college at the time that he disappeared. This happened in August of 2013. He was a sophomore at Sierra College in California, and he actually was having a lot of issues before he disappeared. He was kind of behaving weird. He was giving away his belongings. He was said to have started drinking heavily, and he was misusing medication. Oh god, get me to mispronounce another word, but apparently the medication at the time that he was misusing was Biovance, I think what it is. And this is apparently like a relaxant, like a muscle relaxant. It's supposed to. I am saying relax weird. Relax. No wrong with me today. But anyway, so yeah, he was misusing it, and something that I want to mention before, because I was curious about this type of medication. Like what if you're misusing it, like you're taking it supposed to, or you're just using it obsessively, and basically one of the things that they say that can happen when you are misusing this type of medication is that you can basically become paranoid or hallucinate. That is just it is that you should mess with. And really, any type of medication that you're misusing when you shouldn't take it is not something you should mess with. Okay, so going back, um, the case on August 28th, the day that the night before he went missing, he had broken up with his long-term girlfriend, and he left her apartment late at night. And over the next 30 hours, he started behaving kind of weird. He was driving his car around for a long period of time, extended period of time. He had called his parents and said he was coming home, but like I said, instead of going home to his parents, he just started driving excessively. He drove for a long period of time. He would instead stop his car and he would just sit in his car. It said that he sat in his car around Buttonville, California for over 9 hours, which is just insane. I don't know how anyone can do that. I think if I sat in my car for like an hour, I would going crazy. I think the longest I can probably sit in a car is 30 minutes because I don't know. I even with I would be probably wanting to get out and wanting to go do other things than just sit in my car for 9 hours. Like I said, I can't even do 1 hour. And here's the thing: while this was happening, while he was driving around and just sitting in his car, he was, in contact with one roadside assistance, and they talked to him. They asked him basically, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" And he responded to them, and they thought he was fine. They found him lucent, basically like, yeah, he's there responding to us. They found that he was being very cooperative with them. It wasn't like he was around, I don't want to talk to you, or nothing like that. They basically said he was acting like a normal person, but when you look at the fact that he was just driving around for over 30 hours, sitting parked in his car for over 9 hours, this doesn't sound very. I guess driving around is one thing, but sitting in your car for 9 hours is when I think, what is going on here? Eventually, on August 30th, his car was found at the bottom of an embankment. I have a picture actually of his car after. There is his car. How it looked. It's just, oh no. Okay, that's his car. So here's the thing: the embankment, embankment that his car was over 25 feet tall. That is like the height of a forest building, I think. When I looked it up, what it told me, because I could not fathom how tall is 25 feet. So they found his car, on the bottom of it was by a lake. I think it's called. Oh my god, I'm going to ruin this again. It was called. The lake was called. I think it's Lake. I have no idea. You guys can yell at me in the comments. I give you permission. But so in the car, they found his phone. They found his wallet. He had his laptop in there, but they couldn't find him. And where it was found, it was over 8 hours away from where his girlfriend's apartment was, like where he left, where he's this whole crazy roundabout trip. Basically, it was just 8 hours, and he spent 30 hours driving and staying parked in a car. I don't know. And to this day, they have not found him. And you would think they would have found, something in the car. He got hurt, but I think when I looked it up, because I was kind of curious about this too. Yeah, me, if it's been a little bit. I researched this. I am just, I was planning on so before my little break, but it was said they couldn't find any trace of him. He was just gone, and all the theories that surround this episode This case, well, maybe he disappeared on purpose. But if you disappear on purpose, why would you leave your wallet? In the most part, like, I get if you want to disappear, if you would leave your phone and your laptop, but his wallet's there. But I think it should have had money in there. If you're gonna disappear, you money. That one theory that's also said is that they think he had a psychotic break, which it kind of leans more towards this. It just is makes more sense to me. But at the same time, where is he then? Because this theory makes sense, but at the same time, I also think back to the fact that law enforcement and roadside assistants, they had contact with him. They were saying that, yeah, he was fine, but I don't know how much you can believe that either. I'm drinking water. Okay. I don't know. Like I said, he's still missing to this day. I believe his parents, or at least his family, have a Facebook account for him where they post updates for him and they advocate for him and other missing people. Look it up. It's always rooting for the families who are not just looking for their person, but they're trying to help other people with their own family members. It's just, I don't know what's the word. It's like a very heartfelt thing to do. Say, yeah, we're still looking for our family member, but you know what? We're gonna try to help out other people. And I would also say, I think Brianna's family may have had one. I can't remember. Pretty sure, all these families, yeah, they're definitely still looking for their person. They're still looking for their family members, their sons, their daughters, their brothers and sisters. And hopefully they will get those answers, or in the very least closure. Like, I honestly hope that one day we find something about these people, like to know for sure whether they're still around or if they're not. Just something for these guys. These are 4 different cases that have spanned nearly a decade, and in a weird way, they do kind of, echo each other patterns, different types of things. Basically, their cars were found, but they in turn left no trace behind. So these are still, just unknown, what happened. And it's just, it's a lot to think about it. And that's gonna be it for this episode, guys. Thank you guys who listen on Spotify. Thank you if you're watching on YouTube. Catch me on my Twitch. It's whatever_08. Hopefully I will be able to do another episode 2. Soon. Oh my god. It's late. I'll say it's late. I'll blame it on the fact that it's late. I want to do another episode soon. I'm actually kind of really excited for it because I'm going back to the history genre, and hopefully, if by the time that I'm recording this episode, it's around the corner, it's going to be Father's Day soon, and I am going to do my next episode on fathers. We are talking the best of the best and the worst of the worst fathers, guys. It's something that you're not gonna want to miss. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. I don't want you guys to miss this one because it's history. If you don't know me by now, I'm very into history. So see you guys later. Stay safe.